From Pokemon and their Trainer Team Select series, this is Samurot. For anyone who does not know, the Trainer Team is supposed to be 6-inch scale-ish Pokemon that have better articulation and generally better painting sculpting. This is essentially the adult collector series for Pokemon. They've done a lot of fan favorites over the years. Samurot is actually a figure I've been sitting on for a while. I forgot I had them, to be honest with you. But now, let's actually take a look at not my favorite of the Gen 5 starters, but definitely the most toyetic one, because, hey, I guess my favorite being a snake makes for a more boring action figure. So, Samurot, literally a samurai otter, Gen 5 starter. By the way, the Trainer Select team, sometimes they're amazing. Other times, the quadrupeds can have issues. You know, figures like Suicune are awesome. And then figures like, I don't know, Raikou, a little bit less so. Samurot is weird. Not bad, just different. I do have a complaint here. In the package, the horn got warped. So that's not great. But, I mean, you look at him from the side, he's fine. Alongside that, you do have great painting and sculpting throughout. This is a majestic looking figure, you have to admit. Looks like an old king, or, dare I say, a samurai. You also have some interesting articulation, but first I want to point this out. You're already looking at some of his accessories. These come out and act as throwing stars. I wish they were a little bit more secure in their holsters, but that's so cool. But getting them out of the way so we can look at articulation. We have a universal at the neck alongside a universal at the head. So you have a lot of different points that you can use here. Alongside that, you have a universal at the hip, universal at the front knee, and a universal at the hand. Here in the back, you have a universal at the hip, and then just a smaller group of universals for the knee and the toe. And then you have a simple up and down at the tail. So, not a lot of points of articulation, and granted, it being a quadruped, you're not going to be able to get many poses, but there are a few different looks you can strike. Alongside that, I've already mentioned accessories. We do have these kind of throwing stars that go right back into his leg armor. That works out pretty well. Alongside that, we have his spear. So, a bit of a larger weapon, and if you would like to get him into an attacking pose or a standing pose, he comes with a flight stand. Not enough to actually make it look like he's airborne, but enough to secure him up. I can see what they were going for. It does not work. So, you see these little nubbins on the weapons? These go into his hands. That works, but it is very delicate. One sec. Oh, now it sticks. It took me 5 minutes to get that in his hand, but okay, now it's sticking. Alongside that, the stand just doesn't work. You want to get him like reared up on his legs so that he can look really cool, but they just gave you this little nubbin. They should have given you the proper flight stand to do that. So, Samurot, there's good ideas here, but the execution's so poor that he might as well just be a static figure. Because, there, I got him into a decent looking action pose, but that's pretty much all you can do if you want to have him holding his weapons. As I said before, sometimes the Trainer Select line gives me some amazing figures. Garchomp, Charizard, Suicune. This is not one of them. Samurot is fine. If you're a big fan of Gen 5, if you're a big fan of the Samurot line, this is good. You can make something out of this figure. But I'm just not all that impressed with it. I'm glad to have it. It's going to look good on the shelf. But like a lot of Trainer Select figures, it just doesn't really work as a proper action figure. And that's partly because these designs are weird, they weren't meant to be articulated in 3D space, but a big part of that really is just not thinking things through. These weapons could have been better, the way you put them in the hands could have been better, and for God's sake, just put the full flight stand in. That alone would have helped out a lot. But even still, this figure is perfectly acceptable. There are far, far, far worse Pokemon figures out there. I just wish that Samurot got a little bit more love before they were sent out, you know?